We are so excited. This is week 1 of our High Road Leadership. Yeah. Did everybody get a chance to take a look at the PDF? And it's just, I have to say, and I'll say it like probably a dozen times throughout this, we're so thankful for Sherry and her willingness to share her resources as in the capacity that she is with her affiliation with her coaching business. But so thankful, so thankful, so thankful.
So yes, and as a John Maxwell certified coach, that is how we have access to this guide and the question guide and the comments of his. And so yes, it is a treasure in terms of our opportunity. So exciting. So first, I'd love to know who's been listening to the audio of the book. Anybody been listening to the audio? 1, 2, good,
Yeah.
good. And who's been reading the book? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, awesome. That's amazing. And if you haven't, no worries. We're going to have conversations around the different things. Jimmy's both. Oh, star student, Jimmy.
I'm doing both too.
Oh, Chanel too. Yes.
I think that the ADD people are like, we need all of the types of learning coming at us at once, please and thank you.
Yes. So as we get started, we're going to just dive right in, and we're going to start looking at chapter 1, which is bringing people together. And if there's anything we do in relationships, it's bring people together. If there's anything we do in our business, it's bring people together in our communities, in our families, everywhere. So this High Road Leadership discussion applies to every single relationship we have. We have relationships with ourselves. We have relationships with our spouse, our families, parents if we have them, children, friends, acquaintances. We even have relationships with our things, our business. We have a relationship, and the things that we choose to have, that we buy, that we purchase, that we have, that we're gifted. We have relationships everywhere. So I want us to be inclusive as we're thinking about relationships and bringing people together. And right off the bat on the first page, page 11, near the bottom, he says, I ask the question, how are your people? Are they better or worse off as a result of your leadership, your presence? In other words, are the people rising or falling because you are the leader? And when I read that, I initially thought, I don't know that I feel really good about my leadership, really. And then I'm like, well, okay, let's look for the gains. Let's see if I can find it. Because instantly, my mind went to the gaps. And I started thinking about, where are the gains? And I actually can find lots of gains in family relationships, gains in the people I've met recently, gains in the people on this screen, the community. So I'm really interested to hear from you people. I want this to really be a discussion. And if you want to drop it in the chat, or if you want to just unmute and share, Amy in the chat says, I personally thought about each relationship. Oh, I lost her chat thing already. And connection slides from one end to the other. Cool. Who else? Yeah, Janice? Were you raising your hand, Janice, or picking up your pen? I caught you. Oh, Janelle?
No.
I
was mimicking Janice, but you usually don't need to bait me to say to get me to say a whole lot. Yeah, I was thinking about this yesterday as well. Like, in maybe in a slightly different way, but what can my relationship with people who are around me, or who I could who I would say that I would be in a leadership role with, how could I make sure that it is a gain, like this relationship is a gain today instead of, or I guess we could also refer to like the hose and the drain, right? The idea of, am I a drain on the people that I'm leading or the people that I have the opportunity to speak into, or am I helping to conduct energy and value to them? So, just posing those questions and slipping into curiosity.
Is it Zeph? I see you unmuted. Is that the right way to say your name?
Yeah, it's Zeph.
Perfect. Would you like to share?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the first chapter, and I think life is really, like you just said, life is really all about relationships. Like we have relationship all around and about us, and just looking at how I relate with people and how I, like in my leadership capacity, I would say that lately, like recently, I've really been focusing towards trying to lift people's spirits and lift people's energy up. And so I feel like I'm constantly trying to look for like common ground and find a place that I can help people see things from a better light. And it's just something that I really have been focusing on that. So I feel like I mean, sometimes I fall short, but for the most part, I feel like I've really been doing that in my life, and so and really encouraged by reading the book and just how relationships and bringing people together. I'm so big in when it comes to unity. I love the component of unity. I think that unity is a really powerful thing that that we should have as human beings and as people who aspire to be leaders. Like we have so many different people groups, but really to be a leader who stands out, we got to find unity in multiplicity. I think that's really important. And so yeah, that's why I really enjoyed reading the book. And yeah, just going back to your point, I think life is all about relationships and finding something that unites us and brings us together as a people.
Awesome. Hey, we're so happy to have you joining us, by the way. We're so excited to have you here. That's awesome.
Yeah, and thank you for giving me that opportunity to be able to join you, ladies. I'm the only guy, but it's a bit. I like I said earlier on. I at my work I'm the only guy, and so the only male, and it's a beautiful thing. I love being around being around women. I think we both have like male and female uh, leadership, spirits and energies. They are all really important. And so I enjoy being in the company of female leaders. And I guess I learned it from my mom. My mom was my first leader. And so my dad wasn't always at home. He was absent most of the times, but my mom was the one who took on the leadership. So I think from that, I really respect women as leaders, and I enjoy being in their company and in their presence.
I 100% appreciate and value that comment, Zeph. And just to bounce off of that, you said your mom is a leader. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what specific kinds of lessons you felt that you learned from your mom and or dad. And then I would invite others to share that as well, because really, that's the first leaders that we know.
Yeah, the one thing that I learned from her, she was very she loved to bring people together, and she would welcome people in the community, like teenagers and even kids who are like considered to be very unruly. She would open her house for them. She would even like include them at our dinner tables, and people were surprised by that she was so open, to welcome people who were sort of ostracized by other people. So that really opened my eyes to see that life is really about trying to welcome other people who are ostracized, and trying to understand what is happening in their lives and make them feel like they're valued and make them feel like they are loved, that they have a place. in society. So I saw my mom do this, and this really impacted my life from a very young age. I was very young. My mom died when I was only 9 years old, and so, but I saw this in her while I was still very young, and so yeah. So just bringing people together, especially people who are ostracized, like the people who are not people who are viewed not to have like a positive contribution, or people who others may look at them as like they are less than. She was able to welcome them and bring out the good that is in them. So yeah.
Beautiful example of inclusivity. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else like to be willing to share some leadership lessons from their parents?
I was just gonna say, my mom, yes, I learned lots from her leadership. She was a woman who, if something needed to be done, she got it done at home or in the community. And I remember a couple times where there was she felt I wasn't doing so well in showing court. I used to show horses, and it was very stressful. I was at a higher level in showing these horses, and I just was not thriving. And I think she saw I wasn't having fun, but I loved horses. And so she decided she was going to bring high school rodeo to Saskatchewan. It was all around in other provinces, but it wasn't in Saskatchewan. And so she went to task and got it for Saskatchewan. She was the first president, and that was not what she wanted. Like, she wasn't really a limelight kind of person, but she just knew, hey, my daughter needs this. I'm bringing it here. So just, she had a lot of tenacity and just, didn't say no to very much, rarely. So yeah. And I remember when our little town in Beachy, people were saying, oh, it'd be so nice to have a care home here for elderly parents. And she said, well, why not? Let's do it. And so again, she, used those same leadership skills to bring the first senior living home to the town, because, she was just like, yeah, let's do it, and got people together, right? You got, like, so much of the things that we do is you can't do by yourself. You got to connect. You got to make those networking connections. And yeah, and that's right. It's never, when you see these leaders, John Maxwell, these different ones that are successful, it's not because it's them on their own. It's because they have a team of people around them that want to follow them. So yeah, anyways, that was my mom.
Beautiful. That's a beautiful example. Beautiful. And Jimmy, because I've known you for a while, I see those qualities shine through in you as well. Beautiful. Who else? Either drop it in the chat or wave your hand, unmute.
And going back to how we feel, right away, I was in the gap. I'm not doing enough. I'm not reaching out enough. I'm not supporting the people on my team. And yeah, and that's just kind of my personality, that I need to do more. I'm not good enough. I'm not doing what I should be doing. And yeah, so I need to work the switch in there a little bit. So I'm working on it.
So I love that awareness, Linda, and what you're seeing. So when you think about that, what sort of leadership lessons do you think came from your parents?
Well, they were very, very quiet people, and very much to themselves, but had a very strong faith in that. So yeah, family. For them, family was very important. to stay connected and be a part of the family. And that, so Dennis always wondered why we were always going to family events and just going for visit family. Well, he lots of times had to check the cattle.
Mhm.
Had to check the cows. So I go anyway because I knew how important it was.
And Linda, because I know you a little bit, I see you exemplifying all those leadership qualities. I see so much family care and connection in the things you do. And that leadership is powerful, powerful, powerful. I see Allie saying, my dad talked to anybody and was interested in them. And we've all heard John Maxwell say, caring about other people, valuing other people. And being interested is valuing. Anyone else have some little nugget they'd like to share?
Sorry, I'm like covered in flour.
Perfect. Perfect.
In my pajamas, it's all good. Yeah, for me too, it was value, right? My dad really, really, really loved people, or loves currently, right? And so does my mom. My mom was much quieter in how she did it, right? My dad's the one who talked to everybody and welcomed everybody, but everybody was welcome in our home, no matter who they were, no matter what their story was. And then you find some things out as like an adult, and I think you let that person into our home knowing that, but they did it anyways, right? So yeah, they said, no, we just watched them. It was fine. Yeah. So yeah, everybody was welcome into our home. We always had extra people living with us. Yeah, it didn't matter how different someone was. Yeah, it was a good example to grow up with.
Beautiful. And so what I'm noticing is that these leadership lessons that you're sharing from your parents are all practices of high road leaders. They're bringing people together. They're valuing people. They're giving more than you were taking, bringing in people who needed community, embracing authenticity, being real. These are all practices of high road leaders. And we learn them in our homes, like Zeph said, at a very young age. So never discount the influence that you have as a leader on all the relationships around you. Always. One of the next questions in the workbook, and this is one that is a little more challenging perhaps, but why would you step out of the crowd and take a leadership position? And I love that Jimmy Lou brought that whole concept to us in her talk about her mom, her sharing. Why? And she explained, because she saw a need. So I'd love to hear some of the thoughts around the table here or around the screen, however we want to think of this. Why would you step out of the crowd and take a leadership position?
Yeah, I want to say that, when I read the book, the point that really drew me in, because for me, I really like to bring a point home. Like, I really like to see how something is going to affect my life and change my life. So I loved when John Maxwell put it in the book there that change, if you want to see change in your community, if you want to see change in your country, if you want to see change in your culture, you need to stop pointing fingers at the problems that you see that other people have. You need to look at the person in the mirror. And so he said that change starts with us being able to look at ourselves. I really love that. I believe that, I think it was Mahatma Gandhi that said, we must be the change that we wish to see in the world. And so for me, that's what has really made me come out as a leader, because I look at the world, I look at the current situation, and it is sad. It breaks my heart. And because of that, I felt it in me to rise up and be a voice of unity and be a voice of justice. So for me, realizing that the world is not going to change by me sitting down and doing nothing. The world will change when I play my part. And it doesn't have to be a big part, even if it's just a small part, being a leader at home, with my kids, me and my wife, or at my workplace, just wherever I find myself, I'll always come up and try and stand for unity and justice. And I feel like that goes a long way.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I love that. I feel like, okay, what's the question again?
Why would you step out of the crowd and take a leadership position?
I can tell you lots of reasons why you don't want to, because that's the society we live in. And I don't know about you, but have you guys ever seen some of those videos where somebody's fallen, somebody's hurt themselves, and people walk on by? People don't want to get involved. They don't want to get their hands messy. They don't want to deal with other people. And so they step away, right? And we don't even realize how much we do that with things around us all the time, right? No, I'm going to just stay in my lane. That's their issue. I'm not, right. And so we live in this world where, yeah, there's just more and more of that happening, right? And why I want to rise up, why I want to lead is because I do want to make a difference. I do want to see people, like, let's just say in Plexus, I want to keep sharing what this is, because man, it's made a difference in my life and other people's lives. Like that's just one corner, right? But I think of my church. Why do I, and Leon is on the screen right here. We're at the same church, but why is it that, it's like there's something that comes up and you're like, it's really important that we find people to be servants in it. And and it's hard to find people, right? Because why? People don't, they come up with 99 excuses, their excuses of why they, don't want to get involved. But reality is we understand that is that when you do get involved, there is so much benefit to us. God did not make us to live in a bubble and by ourselves. He made us to be with one another, to create cute community, right? And so, yeah, like for me, it's totally, I want to lead more because I see there's a need out in the world, and the greatest need is people need to know who Jesus is. That's the very core. I want to be out there in the world to share the love of Christ with others, right? And it's going to take leadership. It's going to take stepping up to do those things, to show love to one another and to care for people around me, right? So, yeah.
Awesome. And I know you step up in leadership positions often, Jimmy, particularly in the church area. And yes, I see Leona on the screen. I know she steps up too. So I would absolutely invite her to share why she might step up and take those leadership positions.
I wasn't going to talk today, but I was just going to come quietly on and listen and learn. But yes, I was thinking too, yeah, as you guys are all talking, it's because for myself, like I see a need that needs to be filled. And so I think, oh, that's a great thing that they're doing. Maybe we could do this, and maybe we could do this, and we can add on, and you can, and it's all relationship building, back to what Zeph said too, right? So the things that we're doing in those, like, it's always, how can we make people better? How can we make people feel better? How can we help people build a better relationship with Christ? How can we show Christ to others, right? Like it all just stems from that. Like, there are so many places we could lead, right? I mean, when we look around and we see all of the things we could do, we can't say yes to everything, right? And so we have to really listen to when God calls us to a specific task, and a specific role of leadership. So like for me, yeah, that is the church in a couple of places. And that is my job as my 9 to 5, right? Like I am a leader there as well. And then with Plexus and with my kids. And so, yeah, it's where God calls you to be. And I am someone who I have walked away from a call God has given me in the past, and it doesn't feel very good, right? You feel like, oh my gosh, your heart is beating, and you just like, now I know the signs where I'm being called and I'm obedient. And so if God is calling me to something, you better believe I'm going to figure out how to do it, because he's already made that plan for me, right? He's already paved the way. I just got to go do it. And so, yeah, I don't know. That's my thought on stepping into places. Yeah. That like leadership is everywhere, right? And so, yeah. And sometimes it's actually just encouraging other people to lead where they're called to lead, right? Because we're not all called in the same places, but some people need an encouragement to step into the call that they've been called to. And there's like, oh, I don't want to be, I don't want to stand in front of people, or I don't want to talk, I don't want to lead, like that's too much responsibility or something, right? But really, it's just being confident in what you've been called to do and knowing that you have the strategies or the tools, or you're going to learn them.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. Because we can all learn. We're never too old, right? Like I that old saying, like you can't teach a horse new trick. Is that right? Did I say
An
that
old
right?
dog, new
Like
tricks.
that.
Yeah.
Dog. Can't teach an old dog new tricks. Okay, there we go. I got it. See, it's still morning. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to say today. But you can actually, we can all keep learning. We can all keep learning. It might not be like fast-paced learning. I'm not a fast learner. I like to do things well. And I like to really, I make a lot of mistakes at the beginning of leadership. I really do. Learning something new. I tell my kids, I'm always terrible at the beginning. It doesn't matter what you're going to teach me. I'm probably going to be terrible the first 5 times. After that, I'm probably going to be really, really good, because I want to figure it out. And I think that's just, yeah, that's part of leadership, right? Figuring it out and being confident and being willing to learn and fail at the same time, right? We heard that from John Maxwell too, last summer. You can't be a good leader without failure first. So yeah.
Nobody's good the first time.
Nobody's good the first time. There you go. See, that made me feel really good too.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that, Leona. And I really, really appreciate, some of those practices of high road leaders that you exemplified there as well, in terms of doing the right things for the right reasons and acknowledging your humanness and understanding that you can't say yes to everything, because when you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to something else. So really, really acknowledging that. So thank you so much. Janelle.
I just want to pop in on something that Leona said that just kind of elicited a thought in my mind. And I know that Leona does this really well, like leading. And I think that what you don't actually, maybe you don't realize you do this really well, but you lead leaders well. And sometimes other people who have strong leadership skills just need to see what it looks like for somebody else to go first. And I love that you're willing to do that. I love that you're willing to go first and be wrong the first 5 times, or do it like, you're not afraid of showing people that it's okay to be a leader and make mistakes, and then get really good at it, and then see, look, you can come along and do it too. But it also, like, when I was thinking about that as you were talking, it reminded me of where my brain was yesterday about legacy. and how, when Jimmy Lou was talking about her mom and, Leona leading through youth ministry and all those things, we don't realize the legacy that we're building when we're doing it at the time. I'm sure that Jimmy Lou's mom had no idea that she was like, she knew that she was paving the way with, bringing high school rodeo to Saskatchewan, but she probably had no idea the legacy that she was building in those moments, right? And I think that we can seriously discount those small things that we do as parents in different leadership circles that are going to be hugely impactful, that are going to send ripples, right? And it becomes part of who you are, who people see you as, that maybe you don't see yourself as. So stepping into those scary spaces in leadership, like Janelle said, she first stepped into leadership to challenge herself and grow. Well, like her leadership ripples are huge. Like I get to stand in the wake of that, and it's such a huge blessing to me. And had she not chosen to step out and challenge herself, those ripples wouldn't exist. And so, I just hold such a space of thankfulness for all of you guys that choose to step into those places where maybe you're unsure of how you're going to do it, but leading anyway it's such a beautiful thing. And so I'm just so thankful that you guys choose to do that. And even in your businesses, again, the whole, I'm going to try it and I'm going to do it, and I'm probably going to do it wrong for a little while, but it's okay because I got to get through the wrong to figure out the right, or, that not as good as, to get better, right? Having that courage to fail first in order to get it, like to master it later, it's such a beautiful thing. So I'm so thankful for you guys doing that.
Darlene?
Yes. So I had the feeling that this book is going to be difficult for me, and I may not get into it because I don't really see myself as being a leader, because I'm more of a very background type of person. Like, I think that's really what I've been called to do. Like, I don't see myself as a Sunday school teacher even, or like any of those kind of roles. But I think I like to hear, just be a leader where you've been called to be. So for me, that's going to be in my family. With my grandkids, I think I have quite a bit of influence with my 4 little people. And then in my neighborhood, possibly, with the neighbors around me. So I just need to kind of think about my leadership roles in a different way, like not like a teacher or a pastor or, somebody who's out there with eloquent words like Zeph. I just have to do it my way and figure out how to take this book and apply it to my quieter backgrounds type of leadership style.
I love that, Darlene. And I think that's such a valuable gift to our community, to offer the circle of perspectives of leadership in every different role that we're called to be in. So, I mean, when we look at the practices of High Road leaders, that's embracing your authenticity. Honestly, it's desiring the best for others. I see you desiring the best for your family. And I see you stepping up into hard places to do that. Really, really. And that is totally exemplifies the High Road leader. I think Amy had put something in the chat about not getting involved because there's someone else more qualified or worthy. And I think those are often feelings that people experience. And Leona gave us a great example of encouraging others to step into the gifts you see for them. And we talk about this often here is, what are your gifts? What are you called to? Where are you stepping in to those gifts? We often don't feel worthy in the areas that we're actually gifted in. And it's because we actually find them easy, not significant. I mean, Linda, who I know, feeds her family, feeds the neighbors, she has such a gift of bringing people together in community around a table. That is, I'm telling you straight up, that's not my gift.
Mine neither. It, like, we talked about this before, it makes me itchy. And you're like, why would you just like, it's just feed the people, you just make more. And I'm like, no. Like, no, please no. It's a gift. It is so very much a gift.
Yeah, and I just want to again to Darlene and to Lyndon, and I know that there's others on here, that your gift of opening your home, that's a gift. And then feeding people on top, that's it. Like, if you think that's a normal thing, it's not. And there's less and less of it for sure. I remember growing up in a world that after church, you went to somebody's house. That's what you just did. You got invited to somebody's house. That hardly happens anymore. That's a whole nother conversation. But the gift of opening your home, if you've had parents that did it or you do it, that anybody can come on over when they want, and there's always something in the freezer that you can pull out. That's a beautiful gift. Yes, I have not, I don't have that either. My husband can make good food, but that's not the same. It's not the same. There's something different that somebody can, that their house is always open and there's always something baked or ready for a hungry crew.
And if you find that easy, I just want you to take a minute and just actually accept the fact that that is a gift that has been given to you, and how much stress that elicits in those of us that it hasn't been a gift. And we wish, right? Like, we can open the door and people can come in the building. It's not the same. It's not the same.
Yeah.
Another thing I wanted to add is that the Bible says that we are all created in the image and in the likeness of God. Like, we all are. It doesn't matter who you are. Every human being is created in the image and the likeness of God. And God is the ultimate leader. So for me, when I really started thinking about this verse, that's also one thing that brought out the leadership in me. And I really got to understand and discover that in the heart of every follower is a hidden leader. So once I discovered my leadership, then I've made it a point in me to try and bring out leadership in other people, because we all are leadership. We can all lead in different capacities, you know. And so just being able to let people know that they have a leadership capacity in them, and it doesn't matter how it looks like, because sometimes we think it has to be big, but it doesn't have to be big. Like, I think we've all alluded to that. It does not have to be big. We just have to see ourselves as having something that we can share that, you know, brings unity, brings love, brings value, brings encouragement, and all those beautiful things.
Well said. Beautifully said.
Well, we're going to have a hard time getting through a chapter a week.
I know.
It's a really good thing that we said only one.
We're just going to hop around a little, and we're not going to cover everything in the chapter.
But
Absolutely.
that's why doing the workbook is such a great idea, because you can get all of the pieces and then come for discussion.
I'm going to hop right to page 15, because there's a little box there in the book that says more than 750. Does that make sense? 758%. More than 75.8% of Americans believe morals are getting worse. They cite the greatest problem as lack of consideration for others. And at the top of the page, he says the kindest person in the room is often the smartest.
I love that.
As I thought about that whole piece, at the bottom, he says, one of the reasons we don't come together and work with one another is that we no longer see people on the other side as merely disagreeing. We see them as disagreeable human beings.
Mhm.
Somehow we've attached a difference of opinion to a personality. And this is one of the places that I see a struggle, whether in the news media, in leadership that I see around, is the challenge of different opinions and valuing what different opinions bring to the final outcome of a project. And I just listened yesterday to a psychologist who said in all relationships, 70% of conflicts are unresolvable. That means you're going to continue to have a difference of opinion. And a difference of opinion is a richness of diversity. And so I would just love to hear people's thoughts when he talks about we assume that motives are wrong. Just because we have a difference of opinion, we're assuming a motive is wrong. And when we think a person's motives are wrong, we lose trust. So how can we as individuals offer our opinion in a way that is respectful and kind to everyone in the room? What would that look like?
I would say that. Oh.
No, I was just gonna say, I'm just gonna plug. I hope
Yeah.
Sharon can unmute and give us her take after Zeph is done.
Yeah. Zeph, you go ahead.
Yeah, I think that we are all at different stages of growth in our journey of life. And, you know, if we have that at the back of our minds, and we can understand that everybody is still learning and everybody is still growing. And so we can be able to value other people and not feel like maybe we know more than everybody else, because we are all in this journey of life together, and we don't all know it all, you know. And for me during COVID, that was really big for me. And because I was one of the people who I didn't go for the jab, and I got a lot of criticism from friends, from family. You know, it was not easy, but you know, I learned a lot. I learned that, you know, we all have different opinions, and I really learned that I need to respect other people's opinions and where they're coming from. And, you know, we are all intelligent, sentient human beings. And I really learned that, like, you have to let people decide what they want to decide, and not feel like you are the one who knows it all and you are the one who is right and they're wrong, you know. So I learned that at a personal level, because I lost my job because of not going for the job. So a lot of things, the leader in me, and the heart to be able to forgive, and the heart to be able to be empathetic, and to see the bigger picture was really brought out in me during COVID. And I was able to see both sides. I was able to see why people decided to go and get the jab, and I was also able to see why people did not decide to go and get the jab. And I didn't pick sides, but I was heartbroken that, you know, some people would not see that both sides have a point, you know, and just let people choose what they want to choose. And so through that, I really learned that everybody has their own choice, and their choice is valuable based on where they are in life, because we are all at different places in life. And so that was a really big eye-opener for me, and really opened me up to many different things. I can keep talking and talking, but I don't want to just be the one sharing. I know other people have some other stuff to share too. But yeah, I learned a lot during that about this agreeing to disagree, like Darlene said.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Love that.
That's really a perfect, example. Janelle?
No, I just said I love that. But if it's the other Janelle can talk too. She actually had a really great point. She just said, we need to change our focus from ourselves to others. She threw that in the chat just for our recording. people. And I agree.
And I see Sharon did turn her
There's Sharon.
video on, so we're thrilled.
I know, I like you guys so much. I'm like here with my floury. I'm making a really hard cake right now for my daughter's birthday.
Again,
Anyways,
giftings.
again, yay. No, it's I love what Zeph said, because you're right. We all had an opportunity to have a crash course in this. Some of us took it, some of us didn't, some of us were shielded from it. It's okay. Right. But I have found, for me, to be the first in the room to listen, right? Because I love to talk, right? But to be the first in the room to listen, even if the other person doesn't listen to you, is a really good way to people are more open to having, I think, their opinions heard if you're willing to hear them first, right? So I tried to do that. You know, it's and assuming too that like whoever you're talking to, they know something that you don't, they have a perspective that you don't, right? They have experiences that you don't, right? So that's keeping that in mind. It makes you see people differently, right? And you still may not change your opinion based on you know, their opinion, right? That's fine, right? However, right, to assume that they're not morons, you're going to get far in life, right? You're going to like them better and be a happier person. Mm-hmm.
All of that.
That's awesome. And I think it was Stephen Covey where I first read Seek First to Understand and Then to Be Understood, which is such a beautiful, beautiful sentiment.
I think we could all learn a whole lot just simply by being like, just don't assume everyone's a moron. Like, I feel like you said it well, Sharon.
Yeah.
But I think that is where the world has started to slide to, right? If you disagree, you're completely an idiot, right? If you cut me off in traffic, you're a moron. If you, right? Oh, sorry. Did I just touch a nerve? Like, do we get angry when we drive? Where I can't remember where it was that I heard somebody say, they have a friend who, if somebody cuts them off in traffic, they're like, come on in. Jesus says there's room for you too. Right. And I'm like, oh, wow. Did that ever have to shift my brain in driving? Like, yeah, okay. You're an image bearer. All right. Come on in. Yep. And to say it like, and actually mean it is a completely different thing. But Sharon, I love that. And yeah, Sherry, that I think that needs to be a good bumper sticker that circulates, you know, seek first to understand and then to be understood, right? And like Sharon said, even if it doesn't change your opinion, if you are looking to understand someone else first, what you will gain is perspective. Even if you don't necessarily agree with it, you're understanding more of the angle of where someone else is coming from.
I love the comment that one of my coaches says, you know, you can't see the label on the outside of the bottle from being inside. And I think that's Sharon's comment on perspective. From one view, you cannot possibly see everyone's perspective. And yet it is all that diversity of perspectives that brings the richness of our combined intelligence, our combined ability to move forward. John says in this chapter, if you can't work with people who disagree with you, you will never become the leader you could be.
Oh.
So then the question is, how will you bring people together to be on the same page? How can you bring those perspectives together? And I think Sharon gave us a beautiful example about listening, understanding that different perspective.
Yeah, and we're running out of time, but this actually does really link to and I'm not skipping everything, but it does link to the end of the chapter when he's talking about, just that idea of common ground. To be a high road leader, when your instincts tell you to fight, you need to extend a hand of friendship. When others build walls, you need to look for a gate. When others say you have nothing in common, you need to double your efforts to discover something, anything you share in common, so that you can create a way to meet and build a relationship. High road leaders are connectors. And when I read that, it reminded me of Eva, my friend, who is our diamond. And in her diamond documentary, right at the beginning, she said, she talks about don't build higher walls, build longer tables. And that always has resonated so strongly with me, that, when we're wanting it to impact people, the walls don't get higher, the table just gets longer.
So John does remind us in this chapter that the high road is not the easy road. And as we point a finger and criticize, which seems like we have the right perspective when we do that, we are actually having a whole lot of fingers point back at us. Like, how many point back? And that moment of criticism can become our little point of awareness to shift. And to shift to fairness, openness, and listening. Because can we change anyone else? I see a lot of heads shaking no.
You can't control the humans. Love another Emily-ism. You can't control the humans.
So the only place we can shift our thinking and our actions and our feelings is for ourselves. And everyone here offered some incredible examples. And if you didn't offer them out louder in the chat, I know you thought about them, of the leadership from their parents. And we all, every single one of us, are exemplifying that leadership in our lives today. Whether you feel like you're a leader or not. John says, the first and hardest person to lead is yourself. And so I would encourage you that if you're not feeling like a leader out in the world in terms of visibility, that the place to start is inside and looking at the examples and the practices and just pick one. Just pick one and think about it this week. And next week, we'll ask you what you picked.
Right. You said something, Sherry, and I had a thought immediately that you said, the hardest person to lead is yourself. Would we not look at leadership completely differently if we really believed that the hardest person to lead was ourselves and everyone else is going to be far easier? I can't be a leader. Well, learn on yourself and then move forward.
Ali says in the chat, a question I keep asking myself, who am I, even if that other person doesn't change? And such a good question, Ali. Like, who am I? When I look in the mirror, how do I want to show up?
Yeah.
How do I want to see me?
Awesome. Well, my goodness, we could keep going for another minimum an hour and discussing all of the things in all the places. But I trust that the conversation that was the most important was what came out today. And I thank you guys so much for being vulnerable and open and willing to share. And I hope that even if you didn't share, like Sherry said, you did some of that sharing inside your brain, and that this was formative for your next steps as well. So join us next weekend. Thank you. Actually, like, look at this. Look at how many of you guys showed up on the long weekend. Like, good for you. That's amazing. And not just good for you, but thank you for showing up for the person on your left and on your right. Because when we do this together, it is so much more value packed than when we do it alone. Sherry encouraged me again this morning. Make sure you guys are doing the work in the workbooks. I don't remember exactly how you said it because it was very eloquent, but she said, people who do the work in the workbooks will see a significant change in their lives. So it's there. It's a gift. Thank you, Sherry, again for sharing that. Linda, were you going to say something?
I'm just going to say that I'm feeding 60 people for to next Saturday for branding, so I don't think I'll be here.
Good glory. Oh,
Beautiful.
I have help.
praise the
That's
Lord
beautiful.
for the gifts that he's given you. Can I come for lunch? You won't even notice.
Yes. Yeah.
I'll just come. You know what? I don't even want to eat. I just want to come watch you. Because it's just right. Like when people are existing in their giftings, it just is a beautiful thing to watch. Wonderful. All right. Everyone have a wonderful weekend. And we so value your time here with us. I will have the recording up in the chat, hopefully this afternoon. Take care, guys. Bye.